So I'm first going to talk about family communication. Within my family, we've had some conflict. I mean, I would assume that all families do, um, mainly because everyone's different. Um, so there's my dad, my mom, me. I have a sister and a brother. My brother's older and my sister's younger. So I was kind of always the middle one in the family. So so the main conflict was probably between me and my siblings. Uh, Me and my brother always were closer growing up just because our age difference wasn't much. It was about 2 years. Me and my sister, we kind of butted heads a lot, but that's because of how different we were. Um, Me and Hunter were both kind of laid back, and my sister, she's more of like, I don't want to say outgoing because I'm outgoing, but she's like the preppy, always has an attitude. She's a diva. Basically, she's the younger sibling. So we always had a good bit of conflict. Um, but it was mainly because growing up, either I would say something she didn't like or she would say something I didn't like, and then we would yell at each other. So, anyways, we basically just didn't communicate well. And then as I got older, I just realized that our fighting all the time was pointless and we always made up by the end of the day. So, I mean, there was just no reason to fight. And as I matured, I realized this even more. So, as we got older, we continued to communicate effectively. And the same with my family. When I was pretty much, when I was immature and didn't believe that my parents were right, I would always want to argue with them, not listen to them. And as I got older, I realized that they know what's best for me. And, anyways, but the best way to communicate effectively is with your family, especially, to just kind of think about what they say and their intentions behind their words, and just don't be too harsh. Your family is there for you, and I realized that. And now my family is my best friend. Um, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. But as I got older, I didn't realize this at first, and I always wanted to assume that my parents were out to get me when they wouldn't let me go on a date, or they wouldn't let me go stay at someone's house, or they wouldn't let me go to a party. I just always assumed that they were overprotective and didn't want me to do anything, but that wasn't necessarily true. And I took their words wrongly and didn't think about the reason behind what they were saying. But as I aged and as I realized how big of a role they play in my life, I sort of come to realize that what they said, what that was everything they said, and like the rules were for a reason. And as I slowly took the time to think about the stuff they were saying and the reasons behind it, I wasn't so quick to jump to conclusions or get angry at them so fast and start arguments. I respected them, things like that. So, and like the same thing with anyone else in the family, especially like my cousins and stuff, growing up with them. One of me and my youngest cousins, we had arguments all the time because I couldn't stand how she treated some of our family members and how she just was disrespectful. So I like always got in the middle of it and got angry, and like we always yelled at each other growing up. But then as I aged, I just realized that just wasn't right to do that. There's an easier way to talk to your family members and to other people without yelling and being unrespectful, um, in order to better get what you're saying across. Because I learned that listening to someone that's talking to me in a supportive manner, an understanding manner, was easier and more effective to me than them yelling at me or saying mean words or being negative. So, communicating effectively, especially with your family, just take what they're saying into consideration and really think about it. And don't be so quick to respond. Just always think about the things before you say them. And just be understanding because we're all different and we all think different. So that's a better way to communicate effectively within your family. All right, now it's time for communication within romantic relationships. I have some good examples for this one. I guess I'll start with my previous relationship before the one I'm in now. It started, I think, my sophomore year of high school. Still a really big growing point in my life. I was still learning what I wanted to do with my life, who I was, just the simple things that comes with maturity. But I was in a relationship with someone who was a couple years older than me, and we, not from the beginning, we started out pretty good. We were both committed to each other. We both we respected each other's morals and decisions, and we just ultimately really liked each other. We hit it off from the beginning, got into, started being serious, and then slowly but surely, my ex kind of started to like distance himself and like the way he felt. Like what I mean by that is he didn't try as hard anymore. Um, he kind of started to be rude and like controlling, and but it was like a gradual thing. It didn't like go completely bad at once. But towards the end, he started to be very negative towards me. Um, he was emotionally abusive, which I didn't realize at the time. It just became a normal thing that he didn't respect me. He didn't respect my morals anymore. He was rushing me to do certain things that I didn't feel mature enough or ready to be involved in. And it seemed like he completely just stopped caring. We got into fights all the time. Mainly because he always tried to tell me what to do and I didn't like that. And instead of voicing my opinions, I would just let it build up and build up, which is not the best thing to do in conflict at all, in any type of relationship. But I would let it build up because we seemed to always be fighting and I just wanted the fighting to stop. So I would just try to hide my feelings and had my thoughts about any of the situations until I couldn't take it anymore. And then that would start a bigger fight. And eventually the relationship ended. And I mean, it was the best thing. It was meant to be that the relationship ended. But I think it could have probably ended on better terms if he would have respected me more and I wouldn't have kept everything bottled up, and that made me lose respect for him. And just so many different factors leading in. After he started to change, we never could communicate effectively, or we kind of just lost track of the relationship. So, I mean, neither one of us knew where we were going in life. There's many things that kind of ruin that. But good things come from bad things, and I believe that. And now I am in a serious relationship. I recently got engaged in July, so I'm pretty excited. But this relationship is so different. And I don't regret my last relationship because if it wasn't for that relationship, I wouldn't know what I wanted out of life or out of a relationship. I wouldn't have learned the things that I like and I don't like, or just what I needed. But with the one I'm with now, we respect each other so much. We've been together over 2 years now, and we've never argued, which I'm not saying that we won't. I mean, we've come across disagreements, but like we respect each other and we listen to each other's thoughts and opinions. We think before we jump to any conclusions about anything. We just take the time to realize why one another feel the way we do before, about any situation. Um, I guess for an example is recently, and this is just a simple example, but recently, the day after we got engaged, Trent fell and broke his leg at work. I know, crazy. But he was in a wheelchair for months. He had surgery, and he just about 3 weeks ago, not completely recovered, but got released to actually just start going and doing stuff. So we had planned a date night for one weekend when we both didn't have class. And anyways, that Saturday for our first date since we got engaged, he just kind of was like, we have to be back by this certain time so I can watch Mississippi State play football. And I kind of like wanted to say something, and I wanted to be rude and upset because I felt like he didn't realize how important this date was. It was our first time hanging out, like not hanging out, but like going out since we got engaged, and I bought. Part of me wanted to bottle it up, but I knew, like I thought about it, I was like, that's not smart. Like if you bottle it up, so I just kind of like told him, I was like, I was honest, I wasn't mean, I was understanding. I mean, Mississippi State football is his favorite thing ever, and it's a tradition for him and his brother and his dad to watch it together. So I said, all right, well, we'll leave early that morning and do our stuff, and then make sure we're back in time, and we'll still have a full day. And I mean, but then he realized slowly, like, he thought about what he said, and so, anyways, we talked about it, and we never got into an argument. No one's feelings were hurt. We talked about how we felt. We thought about each other's opinions. He thought about mine, and I thought about his. And ultimately, we came through the situation without any kind of unnecessary conflict. And I have seen that throughout this whole relationship. We both respect each other. We both know where we're going in life. We help each other with our goals. It's just that, to me, is important in any romantic relationship in order for it to work. You have to respect each other's thoughts, each other's opinions, each other's feelings, and you have to not jump to conclusions on anything. You have to talk things out. That's just how it is in a relationship in order for them to work. Alright, now it's communication within friendships. I'm going to start off with an example because this happened recently. I had a friend who I'd been friends with for, since 7th grade, so that's about 7 years. This past summer, well, let's go from the beginning. When around my 10th grade year, we were kind of facing some conflict. We went through a situation where she lied to me straight to my face about something that was pretty serious, and later on I kind of realized why she lied to me, and even though it wasn't right that she lied to me, I moved past it because I listened to what she had to say about it, and I really understood how she felt about the situation. So I kind of just forgave, but didn't forget. But we just moved past it. And anyways, well, slowly we both kind of matured in different ways. I knew what I wanted out of life by my senior year. I knew I was going to college. I knew I was pursuing nursing. I knew that I wasn't taking time off of school. I was going straight to college, getting my nursing degree. Nothing was going to get in the way of that. School has always been so important to me. To her, not necessarily. She kind of goofed around in high school. She decided that she wasn't going straight to college, just many of different things. But you have to remember, in friendships, everyone's different. In any relationship, everyone's different. No one's the same as you. No one has the same thoughts, the same plans, the same goals. Everything, you're different. So I respected that. Well, this past summer, we just had a couple of conflicts. I just kept letting her walk all over me. I didn't state my opinion because I our friendship meant so much to me, and I didn't want to lose her. I I was going through a really hard time. It was my first year away from home in college. I had already lost so many friends from moving. I had only made a couple up here, so she was just my main lifeline back home. Just something that a piece of me that I didn't want to let go. So I would just let it blow over. I just wouldn't say anything. I would let my feelings bottle up about the conflicts that we were going through. I just let her walk all over me, and that wasn't the best thing that I could have done. Because eventually she wronged me again, and I couldn't take it anymore. And I finally said something, and I mean, I was respectful during our conflict conversation when we were talking about it and how I felt. She wasn't. She called me names. She was very negative, and that just kind of influenced me more. That I just didn't need that in my life. Um, I I feel like if I would have been honest about my feelings from the beginning, a long time ago, we may have avoided that. We may have still been friends. We may have not. But I think that it's very important in friendships that you remember that everyone's different, that they're not the same, that you have to grow as friends. You have to get to know each other and the way another person is, and don't necessarily let them walk all over you. You have to be able to be honest with them. You don't need to beat around the bush or let them treat you a certain way because you don't want to lose them, because in the long run you're most likely going to lose them because you continue to bottle all of these emotions up about them and what they've done to you, and eventually it's just going to pop. The bubble is, and there's no telling what you're going to say or what you're going to do or how you're going to feel towards them. So it's better to just be honest. And if the friendship doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. And not all friendships do, but it's better to always be open with one another and to grow together. And I feel like maybe this friendship would have worked out otherwise if we would have done that. So alright, so I have one more example for the communication within friendships. This is a pretty good example because me and Ashley we've been friends since my freshman year in high school. So we kind of started out that new stage together. I always classify freshman year as just a new stage. You kind of start to slowly realize who you are. You're surrounded by all these new people. I mean, everything's different in high school. So we kind of started the growing phase together. And we stuck by each other all throughout high school until senior year. We were faced with a conflict, and it was about a guy. I mean, when I look at it now, I want to laugh at how immaturely we handled the situation. So it was senior year, and she was in a serious relationship with someone who was very disrespectful to her and who was disrespectful to me, to anybody. Just didn't know what he wanted out of life and always drug her down. And I kind of got tired of it. I involved myself a little too much, but I could see that it was changing her in a negative way, and as her best friend, I wanted to be open with her and be honest with her and tell her my opinion. And it slowly but surely came between us. We started to be negative towards each other. We got into yelling matches, called each other names. I think we were both really upset because, for numerous reasons, like we were getting upset for being upset at each other. We had never fought. We did everything together. We were always with each other. When people realized we weren't talking anymore, people would come up to us and be like, "Hey, what's going on?" You know, so they knew, like everyone knew just how close we were. But we both let that conflict just kind of get in the way, and slowly but surely, we just decided that it was best for us not to be friends anymore. And that lasted, and I hate to admit this, but it lasted through graduation. We didn't take a single picture together at graduation. We didn't, do anything together for graduation. It lasted till about halfway through my freshman year of college. We, for some reason, slowly started to reconnect, and um, we talked about the conflict that we had and how we handled it so wrongly, and we apologized to one another, and we talked about how it wasn't wrong that I got into her business, but she kind of jumped to conclusions with my opinion, um, and I understood where she was, like what she meant by that. And anyways, we just talked it out, and it was kind of upsetting because we missed out on so much with each other. I mean, missed out on graduation, or each other's graduation parties. We missed out on just that summer together. When I moved into college, when she started college, we just missed out on all these things because of just a simple conflict that honestly wasn't even necessary. And if we would have talked it out and sat down and really like understood each other's views, like my view of why, she needed to realize or take a look at her relationship and second guess that, I mean, second, like take a second look at the relationship than what she was, maybe, it would have, things would have been different. Or if she would have told me, well, well, I can understand where you're coming from, but I kind of want to understand it a little bit more. Can you explain to me, like, why you feel that way, or anything like that, but we didn't. Like, I just kind of got tired of it, and I said something to her, and then she said something to me, and it just went crazy. It just was so bad. But if we would have took the time to really talk to each other and like just really be an open book to each other, I feel like we would have never missed out on those important moments. And but now we're back to being best friends. She got to stay with me my first night in my first apartment here in Hattiesburg. Um, we just hung out Tuesday. I went back home for my sister's birthday. Just different things. So communicating effectively is always positive in every relationship. If you know how to communicate with someone and you know how to get through conflicts, you're going to be so much happier because you don't have to worry about losing these friendships or these relationships ending so badly. You don't have to worry about any of that because you know how to talk to somebody. You know how to take in consideration everyone else's feelings. You know how to portray that respect for other people in order to receive their respect back. And I feel like this is so important in just everyone's life. I mean, you communicate with people daily, and it's just important to know how to communicate effectively. I really didn't realize that just how important it was and how meaningful it was until reading these chapters. And it's just crazy to think that how you handle a situation and how you talk to someone can completely flip the outcome. If me and Ashley would have just talked to each other better than what we did, we would have never stopped being friends. And I feel like everyone should practice and learn these ways to communicate better in just everyday life. But that's what I learned, and I'm thankful that I took this class and that I actually like really do think about my feelings and other people's feelings before I say stuff. It's just I I don't know. I just feel like everyone should take the time to learn this kind of stuff and really think about it in order to have less conflict. There's just so much conflict right now in the world, and if people would just really respect everyone else's opinions and thoughts, maybe there wouldn't be so much.